Hey everybody, it's Angeline. I know that all of you are familiar with Disney movies. Everybody loves Disney movies, right? They're so much fun. But did you know that Disney was an actual person? His name was Walt Disney, and he had a big imagination, and he was a really big dreamer, and he worked really hard to make his dreams come true. And because of that, he started a company that was able to make all those really fun movies and was able to open Disneyland and Disney World, which are also really fun places. So today we're going to be reading about Walt Disney in a book that's kind of like the value books, only they're called the power books. And this one is The Power of Dreaming, the story of Walt Disney. The Power of Dreaming, featuring the story of Walt Disney by Phyllis Colonna and Della Mae Rasmussen. Illustrated by Stephen P. Krause. Can you guess the name of the man who has brought more fun to more people than any other man who ever lived? Here's a clue. He is the man who dreamed up Mickey Mouse and Donald Duck. Now do you know who he is? If you still can't guess, I will tell you one thing more. The most famous fun place in all the world is named after him. That's right. The place is called Disneyland, and the famous man is Walt Disney. Maybe it's time for me to introduce myself. My name is Drew the Drawing Brush, and I'm going to tell you about my good friend Walt Disney. How do you think Walt Disney came to be the kind of man he was? It didn't just happen by chance. First, he had to have a dream. Then he had to find ways to make his dream come true. He had to have the dream first, so he would know what to work toward. It's true for everyone. If we don't dream dreams, we don't accomplish very much in this life. Walt didn't have a lot of time for fun when he was growing up. The Disneys owned an apple farm in Marceline, Missouri. There was plenty of hard work to do every day, more than they could get done, in fact. Besides, Walt's father was very stern. It wasn't that he didn't love his children. It was just that he didn't always remember to be patient and kind. He worked hard all day and didn't grumble. He expected them to do the same. Walt didn't have many other children to play with, but he had a lot of friends anyway. He loved the farm animals, and they loved him. One of his jobs was herding the pigs while they rooted around the orchards looking for food. Sometimes the biggest pigs let him ride on their backs. Believe me, it is unusual for a pig to allow that. When Walt was 7 years old, his dad gave him a little runt pig for his very own. What's that, you're telling me? You don't know what a runt pig is? A runt pig is the littlest pig in the litter. Walt's father knew the runts often die if someone doesn't take special care of them. They just aren't strong enough to take care of themselves. All the other lively little pigs push and shove them out of the way. Walt loved his little pig as much as most boys love their dogs. He named him Skinny and taught him how to drink out of a bottle. "Come on, Skinny," he would call. "Time to come and get your dinner." Skinny ran squealing to drink his milk in big, hungry gulps. He followed Walt everywhere. Walt had a special dream. He dreamed that someday he would be a famous artist. Whenever he had time to do anything he wanted, he drew pictures. He especially liked to draw pictures of the animals. His favorite drawing place was under the willow trees on the big front lawn. When his work was done, he sat under the trees and drew the horses, cows, chickens, ducks, and of course Skinny and the other pigs. One day, Walt's father called his family into the living room. Walt's mother was there, along with his little sister Ruth and his big brother Roy. Walt's mother and father looked very solemn. "I have decided to sell the farm," Mr. Disney said. Walt was stunned. He hoped he wasn't going to cry. Leaving the farm, the animals, and his drawing place under the willow trees was the worst thing he could think of. He knew Ruth and Roy felt the same way, but no one said anything out loud. "I want the three of you to paint for sale signs to hang on the trees and poles around the farm," their father said briskly. "Now get started." Walt looked at Roy. Roy was 8 years older than Walt. He was always patient and good-natured with his little brother. Walt could talk to him about anything. When they were outside working on the signs, Roy tried to explain the problem. "Pa can't help it, kid," he said. Roy always called Walt kid. "Pa doesn't want to sell the farm any more than we do, but he can't keep up with the payments. The price of apples has dropped to almost nothing, and apples are what we grow to sell." Walt understood what Roy was saying, but he still felt very sad. As soon as the signs were finished, he went out to tell his friends, the animals, the terrible news. When summer came, the Disney family left the farm behind and moved to Kansas City, Missouri. Mr. Disney bought a paper route to deliver the Kansas City Star. The route had more than 1,000 customers, and each customer got 2 papers every day. Mr. Disney hired several delivery boys and paid them $3 a week. Roy and Walt did the same work, but he didn't pay them anything. "I buy your food and clothes, and I give you a place to live," he told his sons. "It's only right that you help me with the work." In the winter, the snow was sometimes 3 feet deep. Walt was only 9 and not very big for his age. "It's hard to get up at 3:30 in the morning," he said to Roy, "especially when it's so cold." "I know it is, kid," Roy answered, "but we've got to do it, so there's no sense grumbling." Walt didn't grumble, but he dreamed about better days. He dreamed of being a famous artist and having lots of money. He dreamed of sunshine and fun and interesting things to do. What are some of the things you hope to do when you grow up? What can you do now to help make your dreams come true? A change in Walt's life. About a year after they left the farm, Roy told Walt a secret. "I'm going away, kid. I've got me a job that pays real money." Walt hadn't felt so stunned since his dad said they were selling the farm. He didn't want Roy to go. Roy was his best friend. "Take me with you," he begged. "I'd like to, but I just can't do it," Roy told him. "You've got to finish school." "When are you going?" Walt asked, his heart heavy. "Tonight, when everyone is asleep and the house is dark," Roy answered. Walt tried to stay awake to tell Roy goodbye, but he was so tired that he fell asleep. When he woke up, Roy was gone. Walt wondered how he would get along without his big brother. "I'll find him again somehow," he said to himself, "and when I do, times will be better." Pa was very angry when he found out Roy was gone. He had lost a good worker. He was even angry at Walt for not telling him. It was a hard time for everyone. Finally, Mr. Disney got over being angry. Deep in his heart, he wanted what was best for his children. He knew that an education was very important. He was proud that Walt could draw well. "You really like to draw, don't you?" Mr. Disney asked. "If you will promise to work hard and learn all you can, I'll pay for art lessons." Walt promised on the spot. He was grateful to his father. Being an artist was his fondest dream. One day, Walt discovered something he liked almost as much as drawing. He liked going to the movies. The father of his best friend owned a theater, and sometimes Walt went with his friend to see the latest film. He couldn't go very often, though, because it cost too much money. "I've got to earn some money of my own," Walt decided. "But what can I do?" He thought and thought. Some days he had papers left over from the paper route. He decided to sell them on the street corner. Then he got a second job delivering packages for a drugstore. Soon he began to feel quite rich. He had never had so much money before. But one day his father said, "Give me your money for safekeeping, Walt. You are not old enough to take care of it yourself." Walt did as he was told, but he was quite discouraged. "Well, no sense grumbling," he said, "but I still have to earn some money of my own." So Walt didn't give up. He found a third job. At noon, he worked at a candy store across the street from his school. By this time, he was 15 years old. One day, his father told him, "I have decided to buy a jelly factory in Chicago. Today, I put your savings with mine to make the down payment. We will work there together." Walt didn't want to work in a jelly factory. He didn't want to move to Chicago either. "But Pa," he tried to explain, "I don't want." "Don't argue with me," his father told him sternly. "I know what's best for the family. The rest of us will go to Chicago right away. You can stay here and help the new owner with the paper route. Come and join us when school is out." Walt stayed and helped the new owner with the paper, but when school was out, he still didn't go to Chicago. "I think I'll get a job for the summer on the Santa Fe Railroad," he told himself. "I can sell newspapers and candy, and I can see some of the country at the same time." Walt didn't make much money, but he made an important discovery. He discovered he liked to ride on trains. In fact, he liked to ride on trains almost as much as he liked to draw pictures and go to the movies. "Someday, I will have a train of my own," he dreamed. When school started that fall, Walt joined his family in Chicago. "Moving won't be so bad," he told himself. "Pa says I can take more art lessons. I'd like to take lessons in cartoon drawing too. It's fun to make people laugh. I'll see if I can study cartoon drawing by mail." And do you know, that's just what he did. Did you ever hear of anyone who could dream up so many things to do? Walt went to high school and art school, and he studied cartoon drawing by mail. He washed and capped bottles part-time at the jelly factory. Some nights he worked as night watchman too. When school was out for the summer, he got 2 more jobs. He worked for the post office and the railroad. "I'd work for nothing to ride on the trains," he thought to himself, "but I'm glad they are paying me 40 cents an hour." He sighed. "I wonder if Pa will ever let me take care of my own money." That fall, Walt got an exciting telegram from Roy. It said, "I'm in the Navy, and I'm coming through Chicago. Meet me at the train station." Walt and Roy were very happy to see each other again. Walt had grown so tall that now he looked down at his big brother. They both laughed. Walt still thought Roy was the kindest person he had ever known. Their long talk at the station didn't seem long enough. "All aboard!" the Navy officer called to the sailors standing by the track. "Hey you," he yelled at Walt. "Get aboard, I say." "He thinks I'm in the Navy," Walt laughed. "I must look older than 16. I think I'll join and go overseas too, Roy." The Navy turned him down. He didn't look as old as he thought he did. But once Walt got an idea, he started dreaming up ways to make it come true. He had the idea that he should go to Europe with the soldiers and sailors. He talked his mother into signing papers so he could join the Red Cross Ambulance Corps. World War I was over before his training finished, but his unit was sent to Europe anyway. Walt spent almost a year in France and Germany. He grew up a lot while he was away from home. When he came back to Chicago, he knew for certain what he wanted to do. He would find work as an artist. "You can't be an artist," Mr. Disney said. "Artists don't make money." "I will make money," he said, "and I will be an artist too." "It's time to come back and work with me in the jelly factory," his father told him. "No, Pa," Walt said firmly. "It's time to start making my dreams come true. I'm going to Kansas City to become an artist." But when Walt got to Kansas City, he discovered that talking about your dreams is one thing and making them come true is another. He finally found a job working for an advertising company, drawing pictures for their catalog. That didn't pay much money, though, so he found a second job at the post office. Even that didn't give him the money he needed. But now, Walt was very fortunate. He met a man named Ube Iwerks, a very unusual name, don't you agree? Ube was probably the most important friend of Walt's life, except for Roy. He was an artist too, and he had a lot of imagination. Imagination is another word for dreaming, you know. People with imagination can dream up new ways of doing things. They can dream up characters and stories, and they can dream up interesting ideas. Walt and Ube began to work together as artists. One day, Walt saw an ad in the newspaper. "We are looking for someone who can draw movie cartoons," it said. "I can do that," Walt said to Ube. "I like drawing cartoons, and I would like to know more about making movies. The job pays $160 a month, too, and that sounds like a lot of money to me." Walt found that he really liked making movie cartoons. But when he saw the cartoon characters on the screen, they just didn't look right. "They jerk too much when they move," he said. "There must be a way to make them look more natural." Walt sat down and started to draw. He worked many, many hours. He tried a dozen experiments that failed. But finally, he tried one that worked. He didn't know it yet, but he had made a very important discovery. That was the beginning of cartoons as we see them in movies and television today. Walt was a pioneer in a great new industry. What's that, you say? He was lucky? Well, I wouldn't call it luck. Remember that first of all, he started with a dream. He wanted to be a famous artist. While he was still a young boy, he started working to make his dream come true. He practiced drawing whenever he could, and he never missed a chance to learn more about it. If he hadn't sent away for lessons in cartoon drawing, he couldn't have answered that newspaper ad. And if he hadn't answered the newspaper ad, maybe he never would have learned about making movies. Walt called his new cartoons Laugh-O-Grams. He and Ube bought a second-hand movie camera and started a small studio of their own. People liked Laugh-O-Grams, but making the cartoons cost almost as much money as they sold for. Walt and Ube could hardly pay their bills. In fact, Walt had to live in his office. He slept in a big chair and sometimes ate only one meal a day. Every week he paid a dime to take a bath in a public bathhouse. When he needed a haircut, he traded one of his pictures to a friendly barber. One day a man came to talk to him. "I saw one of your cartoons at the movies," he told Walt. "I'm a dentist. I want you to make a cartoon that will teach children how to take care of their teeth. Will you do it for $500? Walt started working on the cartoon that very day. When it was done, he waited anxiously to hear if the dentist liked it. "This is just what I wanted," the dentist told him on the phone. "Come and get your $500. You deserve it for such good work." "I can't come and get it," Walt had to say. "My only pair of shoes is in the repair shop. I don't have $1.50 to get them out." The dentist hurried over to Walt's office with the money, and soon Walt was wearing his shoes again. The $500 didn't last long, and sometimes Walt wondered where his next meal would come from. One week, Roy sent him some money from California. "I had a hunch you might need this," his letter said. Another time, one of Walt's neighbors gave him some bread and beans. That's all he had to eat for 2 days. But even when he had very little food, Walt always saved a few crumbs. Can you guess why? Remember how much fun he had with the animals on the farm? He always said they had personalities just like people. Well, he found some animal friends in the city, too. At night, when everything was quiet, the little office mice would creep out of their hiding places. They got so used to seeing Walt that they weren't afraid of him. In fact, they crawled through his desk and wastebasket, looking for the crumbs he always saved. There was one bright-eyed little mouse that made Walt laugh every time he saw him. He was a shy, mischievous mouse, and very energetic. Walt even taught him some tricks. "You are too smart to just be another mouse," Walt said. "You deserve a name of your own. I think I'll call you Mortimer." Mortimer and the other office mice helped Walt feel less lonely. Do you think people usually make their own luck? How did Walt make his own luck? What ideas does this give you? Walt leaves for California. By now, Walt was 21. Some of his dreams were coming true. He was earning his living by drawing cartoons, and he liked that. But he wasn't making much money, not even enough to live on. He wanted to see Roy again, and it was time for a change in his life. "I'm going to go find my brother," he told Oob. "He always has good ideas. I'll see how he likes California. Maybe that would be a good place for us to find work." In no time at all, he was on his way. Roy was as glad to see his brother as Walt was to see him. They could hardly believe they were back together again after so many years. "I sold everything but my clothes and some of my drawing pens to buy a train ticket," Walt told Roy. "But I have a new cartoon called Alice in Cartoonland. Maybe I can find a company that would like to buy it." Walt started writing letters and asking people to look at his film. One day, he got the answer he was waiting for. "Roy, look at this," he shouted, waving a letter in the air. "This company likes my cartoon. They want 12 more, and they will pay $1,500 for each one." Roy shook his head. He had been in the hospital, and he didn't have any more money than Walt. "How can we make films without money?" "We can get people to lend us some. I know we can." Walt was so enthusiastic that Roy finally agreed. They borrowed money from friends and relatives until they had enough to start a small cartoon company. Walt was the director. Roy was the business manager. They asked Oob to come and be the main artist. What's that, you're asking? You want to know why Walt wasn't the main artist? Well, he was an artist too. In fact, he was the one that told the other artists what to draw. But every day there were more and more things he had to do to make the business a success. When there were problems, he had to use his imagination to dream up solutions. And it takes thousands of pictures to make just one cartoon. Did you know that? Walt didn't have enough time to draw them all himself. Besides, he knew Oob was a good artist and a good friend. Roy and Walt hired several other people to help too. One of them turned out to be very important in Walt's life. A young woman named Lillian Bounds. Lillian was hired to type for the company and to ink the outlines of the cartoons. She was a good worker, and she was fun to be with. Not many months passed before she and Walt fell in love and decided to get married. Walt had never been so happy. All his dreams seemed to be coming true. He had a lovely wife, and they were buying their first home. He and Roy were back working together again. In fact, their business was growing so fast, they decided to buy their own studio. Then, for some reason, people began to lose interest in the Alice cartoons. "I think people like change," Walt told Oob. "They liked Laugh-O-Grams for a while. Then they liked Alice cartoons. I think they're ready for something new. We'll have to come up with a fresh idea." So they thought, and they thought, and they dreamed, and they dreamed. Then they began to draw. They drew a funny-looking rabbit with long, long ears. "Let's call him Oswald," Walt said. "We'll make a few cartoons and see if people like him." People did like Oswald. So did the man who sold Walt's films. He liked Oswald so much that he used Walt's idea. He hired some of Walt's artists to work for him, and he made his own Oswald cartoons. Walt was not happy. "Well, I guess we learned a good lesson," he said. "From now on, we'll be careful who we work with. I'll hire some new artists, and we'll make the cartoons in our own studios. We will even sell them ourselves. But first, I will have to think of someone else as funny as Oswald." Once again, Walt began to think and dream and dream. He searched his imagination. "What is as cute and lovable as a rabbit?" he asked Lillian. "I think people like little cartoon animals that talk and act like people. What is a funny little animal they would never get tired of watching? Suddenly, Walt laughed out loud. He remembered Mortimer, the mouse in Kansas City. He told Lillian all about his funny little friend. Then he began to draw. When he finished, he had a picture of a bright-eyed mouse dressed in short pants and great big shoes. He looked like an energetic, mischievous little mouse. He looked like a shy little mouse who would be your loyal friend. He doesn't look like a Mortimer, though, Lillian said. We'll have to find a different name. And that's how Mickey Mouse was born. Many people say Mickey was a lot like Walt. Walt had a mischievous sense of humor and was very energetic. He was rather shy, too, and very loyal to his friends. Walt and Mickey had something else in common. They both had a lot of imagination. In 1928, the first Mickey Mouse cartoon opened in New York. It was an instant hit. The title was Steamboat Willie, and it was the first cartoon with sound. Walt himself was Mickey's voice. The audience laughed so hard at the funny little mouse that they could hardly hear what he was saying. Walt never had to worry about money again. Mickey made him rich and famous. But he didn't stop working because of that. He knew that once you learned to use your imagination, there was no end to the good ideas you can have, or to the dreams you can make come true. I think we need to find you some friends, Mickey, Walt said. Soon, he dreamed up a whole studio of cartoon animals. Donald Duck, Clarabelle Cow, Pluto the dog, and of course, Mickey's girlfriend, Minnie. Soon, Mickey and his friends were famous all through America, and in other countries too. So many people liked Walt's short cartoons that he decided to start making full-length cartoon movies. I'm sure you have seen some of them. Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, Dumbo the Elephant, Sleeping Beauty. Our cartoon animals seem so real, Walt said. I wonder if we can make movies using cartoon characters along with real actors. And he dreamed up the idea for these movies: The Reluctant Dragon, Song of the South, Mary Poppins. He had another good idea. Real animals are just as interesting as cartoon animals, he said. How about making some nature movies about real animals? So, he made some true life adventure films. Seal Island, Beaver Valley, The Living Desert. I won't tell you all the different kinds of movies Walt made. There just isn't time. But maybe these are some of your favorites. By now, another of Walt's dreams was coming true. Whenever people heard his name, they thought of good fun for the whole family. When one of his movies came to town, everyone said, "It's a Disney film. Let's take the kids and go to the movies." You're probably thinking there wasn't anything new that Walt could dream up. But you're wrong. Do you know he was one of the first people to start producing family films for television? And with the money he made from television, he started building his biggest dream of all. Can anyone tell me what it was? Did I hear you say Disneyland? Because if I did, that's exactly right. This is how it came about. One day, Walt took his two little girls, Diane and Sharon, to visit an amusement park. They thought the rides were exciting. The merry-go-round, the Ferris wheel, the whirligig. But Walt had seen all those things 100 times before. The more he looked around, the more he was disappointed. No one had planted grass or flowers. The workers weren't happy or friendly. No one even picked up the trash. This isn't the way fun should be, Walt thought. Fun should be adventurous. It should please the eye and wake up the imagination. I'll bet I could make a better amusement park than this. He began to get a dreaming look on his face. And you know what happened then. By 1955, Disneyland was ready to open. Walt had put everything in it he ever dreamed of. Main Street looked like his hometown in Marceline, Missouri. He even had his own train. On opening day, every street for 10 miles was jammed with cars. The ticket collectors counted 33,000 people as they walked through the gate. Once again, Walt had a hit. "Are you surprised that Disneyland is such a success?" one reporter asked him. "Oh no," he answered. "All people dream of a magic kingdom. I just help their dreams come true." "What's that you're asking? You want to know what happened to Walt's father and mother? My goodness, did I forget to tell you that?" As soon as Walt and Roy had nice homes, they brought Mr. and Mrs. Disney to live by them in California. Walt's father and mother were very proud of their sons. Walt and Roy were glad to have everyone back together again. They knew that the very best fun is the fun shared by the whole family. After all, that is what they always dreamed of. The end.